She's the block star who calls a spade a shovel. Sarah Jane, the former Renault queen, has swapped her high-vis and hard hat for a hospital gown, and she wants us all to know why.
Holy crap, like, I'm gonna have huge surgery in less than 2 weeks. It is day 5 since my double mastectomy. I've got some bruising. This is my story, and if it can help you, please watch. Yeah. This one?
It's afternoon tea time at the home of former block contestants Tom and Sarah Jane.
Okay.
Sarah Jane's mum Tanya is on hand to help with little Cleo after a year like no other for this young family. In 2022, millions watched as the down-to-earth social worker Sarah Jane and her plumber husband Tom gave it their all on the TV hit.
I spend 8 hours a day in bathrooms. I love bathrooms.
And that's just doing his poo in the morning.
The block wasn't financially life-changing for these two, but they were able to keep that in perspective thanks to an ongoing family medical battle that began when Tanya received difficult news almost 30 years ago.
I was 35 and I found like a mass, I suppose you would call it, in my breast, and it turned out that I had breast cancer and it had spread to the lymph nodes under my arm.
Tanya would fight and defeat breast cancer twice. But for Sarah Jane and her sister Alana, it meant much of their childhood was spent wishing mum would get better.
Obviously, it affects the person that has the cancer, but it's a knock-on effect, and everybody feels that.
After having both breasts removed, Tanya became a tireless advocate for breast cancer awareness, speaking at the launch of Breast Cancer Network Australia in Canberra in 1998. But the difficult news would keep coming for this family when Tanya learnt she carried the BRCA1 gene mutation. Carriers have an increased risk of developing breast cancer and can pass the gene on to their children. So when Sarah Jane turned 18, Tanya decided her daughters needed to know that they too could be carriers.
I was so nervous about telling them that I didn't tell them. I took them to the doctors and got the doctor to tell them because I had this huge amount of guilt that I had given them, and it still makes me upset, that I had given them this gene mutation that meant that they would have such a high risk in developing breast cancer.
Dr. Paul James is a genetic expert at Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre. Dr. James says Tanya should feel no guilt at all, and that what she did takes guts.
It's absolutely critical information to share, and so although it's confronting information, there's nothing like having that kind of advanced warning.
According to studies, 1 in 200 Australian women carry the BRCA1 or BRCA2 gene mutation that can increase the risk of developing breast cancer by up to 70%. So what should you do if you discover you are a carrier?
Well, the first thing to do would be to go and have a chat to your GP about it. In lots of cases, they'll be able to give you reassurance, but if it is something that needs to be looked into, then they can point you in the right direction and we can help you from there.
After that doctor's visit, Sarah Jane had a blood test to see if she was a BRCA1 carrier.
I kind of prepared myself for the worst because I am my mother's daughter in all senses. So I was like, I think it will come back positive, and it did.
Sarah Jane was referred to the Familial Cancer Centre at Peter Mac, where treatment options were discussed. Among the possibilities, a proactive double mastectomy.
The decision process was pretty quick for me. It was, I've had a parent who's had cancer. I've seen it. I don't want my daughter to go through that. So I didn't really think about it at all.
The decision may have been a quick one, but with a long waiting list, getting the mastectomy was a long process. For years, Sarah Jane would wait patiently for a call, putting off surgery while pregnant with Cleo, and then, finally, the day before the block auction last November, her phone began to ring.
And it was an unknown number, and I don't normally answer them. I'm like, oh gosh, what haven't I paid? But for some reason I answered. And they were like, oh, hi, it's Peter MacCallum here. We've got a date for your surgery, if you're available. And I couldn't even believe what I was hearing. I genuinely could not, and I was like, okay.
Come surgery day, the nerves had set in.
And I just started, getting really scared, but then I was like, I just have to be brave.
Emotions running high for Tom as well.
I remember you know, saying goodbye to her as she was getting wheeled off, and I, you know, had a little bit of a teary in the lift heading down to the car, and I thought to myself, like, what a superstar, like how strong are you going through this?
Led by Dr. Holly Keane and plastic surgeon Dr. Angela Webb, the double mastectomy and breast reconstruction was a success.
Last time I saw her, she came in for a post-op review and she bounced in, didn't even look like she'd had a huge surgery, was completely pleased, and it was a pleasure to look after her.
In fact, she was like that in the evening post-surgery.
Now fully recovered, Sarah Jane is attacking life with her trademark smile. Yes, one day she may have to have that conversation with Cleo, but you get the feeling Cleo might be her mother's daughter too. And after all, it's not just a BRCA1 mutation that runs in this family. Toughness is in the genes as well. What does the future hold now?
Just being a mum, hopefully have another baby one day soonish. Yeah, world's my oyster now. I can do whatever I want, except retire.
Yeah, not just yet, Sarah Jane.